As the months drag on in this pandemic, perhaps you're working from home, your kids are virtually going to school, and it's mass hysteria in your house. The fact is, you're not alone. A lot of people are dealing with this very same thing. So we asked clinical psychologist Dr. Regine Mouradian to come in and talk to us about how we can cope with this as we continue to trudge through this pandemic. Hello, doctor. Good to see you.
Hello. Nice to be here, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay. So I'm sure you are seeing this on a daily basis with your patients. What are you telling them?
Yes. So the pandemic has been really difficult. I think we weren't really expecting it to last this long. So a lot of kids right now and parents are just very stressed and trying to manage their jobs, working from home, working with the kids, helping out. So it's really comes down to how to kind of break it down and organize themselves and really taking a break off from the screen when they can. So it really depends on a case-by-case basis what people are experiencing. But I'm hearing the same common thing is we're tired, we're stressed, we're not motivated, and everyone can't wait to really get back to school.
Right. So, I mean, we don't know when that's going to be. Maybe it's going to be in a month. Maybe it's going to be in a couple of weeks. So the unknown, I would imagine, is a very difficult place for people to be because it just causes more anxiety and stress when there's no solid, I have to go to work tomorrow or I have to go to school tomorrow. We just don't know. So how do you cope? How do you cope as an adult first? And then we'll talk about the kids.
Okay. So usually what I'm recommending parents is to really take a step back. And I think what we really need to do is just enjoy this moment that we're in right now. Because the reality is, once we do go back to whatever the normal may be, we're going to miss this in a lot of ways. And I really try to focus on togetherness and what are the things that are positive in your life, such as spending time with your child. Maybe it's family dinners, maybe it's hanging out a little more because we don't have the regular go-to-go activities that we used to. So really helping them focus on and be mindful of the positives that they do have in their life rather than shifting to the negative, which I think most people do, which is very normal.
So, I mean, that sounds easy, but I feel like executing that is really hard. So, I mean, how do you do that? I mean, how in your brain do you make that happen?
Yes. So one thing that's been really helpful is I'm having parents and I've received that same question that you just asked. Well, how do we do it? It sounds great, but how do you implement it? I totally agree. It's really creating a list. So we'll work on a list together and I'll have parents write down, okay, just step back and try to ground yourself and be mindful. And mindfulness is really about being in the present moment and realizing, okay, well, what are some things that you weren't able to do before that you are able to do now? And some of the things parents will come up with, well, we used to never be able to have family dinners together, all of us at the table, or we were never able to go out on walks or activities. I know a lot of people even, believe it or not, they're traveling out of state and just renting an Airbnb and just being together. So I think there's a lot of shift. I'm hearing also playing board games. So I think the list is easy because you could just tape it to a wall and refer back to it when you are feeling down.
Right. And then let's talk about the kids, because I know kids is a whole different realm. Sometimes they can't express. I mean, they're probably feeling the same way you are as an adult, but they just can't express it properly. So it maybe takes on other forms. And I know you wrote a children's book in the middle of this pandemic to address this very issue.
Yes. So my book, Frankie and the Worry Bees, was really born out of this pandemic. What I noticed was kids were not connecting anymore over Zoom. And it got me worried and got myself worried. So I was like, they needed something creative. And in my practice pre-pandemic, I was using a lot of creative tools, such as drawings and illustrations, because kids really connect with that. And it really started with just a stick figure and two positive bubbles above my Frankie character, and really having kids write down all the negatives that they were experiencing. So for example, they would say, I can't do this, I can't focus, I'm having a hard time, I miss my friends. So they were really stuck in that negative energy and vibe. And it was all about transitioning them into the positive. So exactly the same question as for the parents. And what I noticed, and this is where the success was tested, was when they repeated the positives every single day, again, by writing them down, taping it to their wall, such as, I can do this, I am smart, I will succeed. That's when I knew I just had to put this in a story. And that's how Frankie was born.
It's a great concept. And I think especially for kids, having a visual, and a character makes a lot of sense, especially when they can't articulate their feeling.
Yeah.
And then I want to end on this because I know a lot of parents, a lot of my friends who are parents say to me, my kids just miss their friends and I don't feel comfortable having them. So, going out and playing with friends the way they used to. So how do you get past that specific hurdle?
Yes. So I know that, this is a common thing that we're all talking about one of the main reasons why it's important for our kids to be back in school, again, with healthy guidelines and whatever CDC recommends in our state, is that they do need that social interaction. So, I've heard a lot of parents, the kids are gaming or, we've kind of loosened up the restrictions there a little bit so that they have that FaceTime or connection. Or also some things that we're adopting even in our family is, and again, this is personal preference, but even if you're meeting at the park and it's with two friends and with a mask and you're throwing a ball or you're just walking together at a distance or having a picnic, which parents can organize, so that it's not such a big gathering, but you are choosing about a couple friends that you feel comfortable with. I think it's just better than having them secluded in the house and, which creates a lot of isolation and they feel withdrawn.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, trickle down consequences to, what we're all having to try and navigate with this pandemic. But I appreciate your expertise and I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. Dr. Regine Mouradian, good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.